Good afternoon, all. My name is Herman Dunham Jr., and I am the host of AAU Building Bricks Youth Leadership Show. And we'd like to welcome all our parents and teens viewing us this week as we go through different dialogues and issues concerning young people, young men, young women. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, executive producer Roger and Shavonna Johnson of AAU Youth Magazine and the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation. And I want to say to our guest that's viewing that we really appreciate you taking the time to, kind of sit down with us and walk with us as we go through various issues that are facing our young people, our parents, our community, and how we'll be able to repair those things, or at least get into the process of further development. So I'd like to welcome a very, very special young lady here today, Miss Tiffany Robinson. She has an organization. She works out of New York City in the Bronx. And Tiffany, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, my name is Tiffany Robertson, founder and CEO of I'm Really Dope. DOPE is an acronym for Determined, Outstanding, Powerfully Empowered, and I work in the tri-state area, in all the boroughs, Jersey, and in Connecticut as well.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you want to just kind of open up and tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do, as far as I know you do a bunch of great things in the community.
Okay. Well, it started off as Chances. Chances is the business, which is an acronym for Children Have a New Concept of Education and Success. I'm Really Dope is the movement. So what I do is I fast forward students' lives, and then I backtrack and I show them how to apply the education that they're obtaining now towards their future goals. So, I work with them with their academics, behavior, and I just help them transform. But I do a lot of exposure programs. I feel like a lot of students, it's not that they cannot succeed, is that they just don't have the proper exposure of the future careers. So I put them in the programs that they want to, be like. If they want to be a doctor, they're in mentor and medicine programs, or if they want to be do advertising, they're volunteering at advertising firms, things like that. So
Okay.
it helps them to understand the career path that they're choosing.
Oh, wow. Okay. How long have you been doing that?
For 5 years.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
5.
Okay.
5 years.
I know I had the pleasure of meeting a couple of your young ladies.
Yes.
And although I can't remember their names, you know exactly what
Yes.
I'm talking about. So, can you kind of walk us through the process? I know when you first, met them or started working with them, they were in high school, or was it junior
Middle
high school?
school.
Middle school.
Yes.
And then you brought them all the way, because now they're
College.
Right.
Yeah.
So, walk us through that process if you don't mind.
From when I first got these girls?
Yeah, the ones that I met.
Okay.
Nice young ladies.
Yes. They're very nice now. But they were a handful. Those were actually my first set of students that I had. So the schools, let me backtrack. I contract with the Department of Education. So schools hire me to come in to be able to help their failing students and their failing schools to meet student readiness.
Okay.
So these girls, along with about 18 other girls, they were about to be left back. So it was 7th and 8th graders. They weren't going to graduate or be promoted. So these girls, they were just running the school. When I mean they were bad, they were so bad. Like if there was a such thing as a bad girls club in junior high school, these were the girls.
Wow.
So, they was just like, we want you to break the news to these students that they're being left back and held back. And I'm like, wait, hey, I didn't sign up for that.
Right.
But I went in, I was nervous because a lot of times when I saw these girls, it was like they were fighting already. They were yelling at teachers. They were cussing them out. So, I was a little nervous. So I went in there and I had to break it down to them, and I told them, I said, hey, so since you all procrastinated all year long, let's prepare for you repeating the same grade that you're in now. Yay! And they were just looking at, okay, who is this lady coming in here like crazy? So, but that was like a reality check for them because they realized that they spent a whole year not being productive. See, the thing is that when you're in the 8th grade, you think that all you need to do is pass the state exam in order to be promoted. And because they knew that they could pass state exams, that's all they focused on. But with the schools, it's accumulative. You not only need to meet the state exams, you have to pass all of your classes in order to be promoted. And, you know, I told them, I said, this is the case. They sat down. I showed them a plan. I said, this is what we're going to do. I only have 8 weeks with you girls. I'm not even sure if this is going to work, but let me help prepare you. They were all on board with it. And in the process of me working with these girls in 8 weeks, every last one of my girls were promoted, and they graduated in a matter of 8 weeks. So, you know, it was a life-changing for them because, you know, these girls, some of them had probation, they had criminal records, so it was different. And since then, they've been soaring high. They've been receiving 6 scholarships to colleges.
Wow.
You know, they just transformed. So,
Wow.
you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. In 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
They went from basically the young girls, bad girls club,
So
and straight transformation.
Transformation.
So
8
without giving out the secret recipe,
Yeah.
what were some of the things that they did?
They came to school.
Okay.
That helped. They came to school. They were doing extra credit. They were participating more. They toned down their demeanor.
Okay.
They was doing their projects. They were studying. They were passing their tests. They started working harder. They stayed after school. They, you know, they really put in the work in 8 weeks. They were even sitting there saying, Miss Tiffany, can you review my projects? Is this right? You know, they wanted my feedback. So I will work with each one saying, okay, this is what we do. Okay, this is good. No, you can't use how you text in this report. Like, you got to change it. So, you know, that's basically it.
Okay. So you had them before school or after school or in the middle?
Well, because this was an aggressive situation with this, and I really wanted these girls to pass, like, it was supposed to have been an after school, but I was not only working with them after school, I was there with them at the beginning of school because I wanted to make sure that they showed up. I was there with them throughout the whole day, and, you know, I mean, I was there from the time school started to after school when it ended for 8 weeks, like going above and beyond because I saw the desire for them to want to do it, but they really needed help. So, you know, that I was supposed to have did that, but I did it because I wanted to really help them. Okay.
So I'm wondering, I'm sure the teachers loved you.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of help motivate, and we've seen videos, whether it be Facebook or YouTube, where I remember the video I saw where the kids were torturing the substitute teacher, which was, you know, just like loud, aggressive, you know, up close and personal behavior. And I don't know if any of the young ladies were actually, you know, practicing any of that type of behavior. Some of them were. Okay, so so the teachers, I'm sure they pretty much just kind of opened up their classrooms and so forth.
Yeah, because I believe when you come in with any program, you can't just come in and just say, oh, you know, I'm coming in for a day, I'm going to pass out a couple of pamphlets and, you know, tell the kids these are my office hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You have to really be hands-on because these kids, especially this generation, they're visual kids. So it's like you come in and not only are they visual, they deal with a lot of inconsistencies in their lives. So if you're going to try to come in to make a change, you have to show them something that they're not used to. So you have to become somebody who's consistent opposed to repeating a cycle of what's already happening in their lives. So when I go into schools, I don't really go into schools to just speak for one day, even though some schools may hire me and say, okay, we want you to come speak for one day. But it's not going to help because I may speak, they may get impacted that one day, but what am I really doing to help them with the change? So I may come back and check up on them and peep in and, you know, things like that. You know, they need help. So who's really helping them? So.
Okay. All right. And I see it's pretty much the same thing. You know, when I work with young men or just young people in general, it's pretty much the same thing. They want you to come in for one day and, you know, and turn the place around, which is, you know, of course you need. Right. You need the consistency. You need the opportunity to be able to engage and really find out, you know, kind of make assessments, find out exactly what's wrong, what they need, what they want,
And there's so many different personalities, that
absolutely,
you're dealing with. So
absolutely,
you have to
absolutely.
really see there. And I don't believe that there's a bad child. I just feel that children are misguided.
Okay.
They have a lot of problems that they deal with that kind of trickle into the school. And it's not
Okay.
even the school's fault. It's just that they're being dealt with a deck of cards that they're not even prepared to do.
Mm.
So, and it's a game called life. And unfortunately, they come from situations where mom and dad may be working 2 or 3 jobs, and then or parents may be going back to school, or they may have their little brothers and sisters that they have to pick up. So now they're picking up that weight just to
Right.
keep the family structure right.
Right.
But it becomes a lot of stress on them,
Right.
and it makes them angry because they're missing out. And then it's like it goes into the school, and then they take their frustrations out on the teachers. They're taking it out on administration. They're taking it out on other students. And schools are there to teach you. Sometimes they don't have time to get down and say, okay, what is the problem? And sometimes the students, they really don't want to open up because they feel the minute that they open up, they're going to catch an ACS case. They're going to be removed out their parents' home. So, to avoid that, that's another reason why schools hire me, so that they don't have to go through those certain extent protocols that they would necessarily have to go if it was the school who was digging it.
Right.
But they can have me do it.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. All right. So you're like a lifesaver then, because the kids kind of get to open up to you.
Yeah, they do.
The teachers don't have to hear it and
No.
do the protocol and the reports and so
Yes.
forth, and then you can help them manage because
Yes.
it's I can only imagine. I'm the youngest, so I didn't have anyone younger than me to pick up from school or anything. It was bad enough for me trying to.
Yeah,
stay
you was
in
the one
school.
that was being
Yeah,
picked
I was
up.
the one. Yeah, I was the one being picked up. But the funny thing is, I never really thought about some of the weight that they have. I do see many families utilizing the older siblings to kind of nurture the younger siblings.
Yeah.
But I really believe that there needs to be a line drawn,
Definitely.
by the parents. Whereas, you're the older brother or sister, and you're here to lead and guide and manage the younger sibling, as opposed to in some cases, the older siblings become the second parents,
Yeah.
which
Well, I think too that's the economic. It deals with the economy first because they have parents who are working jobs that they can't afford to pay for the child care.
Okay.
So they rather keep the money in the household to pay for the bills, opposed to paying for child care and and child care is expensive. I know. I have a 6-year-old and I couldn't wait till she started school, so I didn't have to pay that child care anymore.
Right.
So it's expensive. So I definitely understand that, but it's like the kids who are the ones who are taking care of the younger siblings, they miss out on the sports and the extracurricular activities and the art programs and the things that they love doing because they're raising the siblings.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a brief look, because I was really impressed by the young ladies that I had the opportunity to work with inside the group that we did in the Bronx. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Including your son.
My babies.
He's just your son is that's my man. So you talked about the fighting, you talked about the anger. If you could pinpoint probably like 2 things, and not just those young ladies, but I'm just talking about out of your work, 5, 7, 12 years ago with young people, what are like the 2 major issues that you see that they could use improvement, whether it be minimum or drastic?
In terms of what, like as far as like helping them in school?
Yeah. No,
like,
well, no, not really in school, but more so life.
In life, trust. They don't trust anyone, and just knowing that they can, the self-esteem. Self-esteem and trust is like a big issue for them that really hinders their progress.
Right.
They don't trust anyone, which means including their teachers. So it's like, I don't trust her, so she can't teach me nothing. I'm not going to be up in here, yeah, she's only gonna be in here for a little bit, and they're gonna remove her, so I ain't got to be listening to her. So it's like they don't trust anyone, so they lose respect for the authority figure.
Wow.
And the self-esteem, they're not confident enough to know that they can accomplish anything that they want to accomplish because of the surroundings. Especially like for me, I work with a lot of inner city kids. So when you walk in their communities, you have a Chinese restaurant, beauty supply store, a liquor store, and drugs, gangs, things like that. So it's like this is all I'm going to amount to,
Mm.
and they don't look at the stuff saying I can come out of this environment if I work hard, but I can use my education as a foundation to come out of the situation. So, when I go in, that's why I said before, it's important for me to be able to provide them outside resources and programs so I can remove them out of their communities and give them that exposure
Right.
so that they know it is possible. And then they're seeing people who came from their community, who came out of the community. And it's like, wow, they're just like me,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they're just like me. They walk the same blocks, like
Right.
they went to the same schools, and now they see it's possible.
Right.
So, I just have to put that little reassurance in them.
Okay.
Just like, you can do it.
Okay. I like the piece, the trust piece.
Mhm.
And, we wrote, actually, I say we a lot, but, I wrote it. The BRICS program, which is not just a youth TV show. We do the community work as well. And in the B, because BRICS is an acronym.
Yeah.
So in the B is brotherhood, and we call that the principle. And then we have 3 practices with it. And the 3 practices for brotherhood is, or how individuals, young men can build a brotherhood that kind of turns into, relating with men and so on and so forth. But the 3 practices are culture, understanding the history and, kind of what's going on with men now. Unity, how to come together. But even before that is the trust.
Yes.
And it's a key issue because if you don't trust, you really don't have anything.
You don't.
Any relationship,
No.
any job, any whatever.
No.
You don't have trust, or you have you have a bunch of stress.
Yes.
And,
That you do have.
and besides the stress, it's just like you're reacting to things. Sometimes they're not even there. Lack of trust builds fear, and so many different things. So it kind of gave me a little bit more insight into why things are the way that they are. Now, I was watching the news yesterday, and they were talking about the rapper from Queens, I think he is, Chinks,
Yeah.
and how his murder has been unsolved.
Yes.
And the police were saying, or at least the news was saying, and you can't believe everything you hear on the news.
Exactly.
But they were saying that the case was making progress, but the people, the witnesses, stopped helping the police. So I say that to ask: is there, with so much that's going on, with police brutality and so on and so forth, is there an ideology or perception coming from young people dealing with the police that you've been able to to recognize?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think so much for my girls, but it's for my boys. Okay, the young guy in the Bronx from Marley, who was murdered by a police officer.
Okay.
A lot of my students knew him. So, because it happened in their community. And so that really affected them. We had to really provide, his name was Marley Graham. We had to provide a lot of support for them because that was like reality setting.
Right.
Because this is somebody who is our friend. This is somebody that we hang out with. And this is somebody that we know, somebody who hang out here, and now he's gone, and he's gone due to the police who are in our community, who are in front of our schools every day, telling us we have to go home and leave the neighborhood, but they killed one of our own. So they had a lot of marches in front of that 47th precinct, and a lot of my students, they showed up because they wanted a change. But for the boys, it makes them scared, you know, especially with me raising a young black boy. It makes him nervous too because my son is like completely like not,
Right.
yeah, he's not
Yeah.
one of those kids that's out there hanging out and
Right.
things like that.
Right.
But it's just the fact that he may walk around with a hoodie, you know,
Right.
he may have the perception that he could be that type of kid, and it makes him nervous along with other students who are doing good things. Um, you know, but we just have to be able to show them. And one thing I did, I partnered up with a retired police officer, and he was just basically showing young boys the rules of what to follow, of what is the protocol, of what's supposed to happen. Just let them search you, just let them be obedient, and then we won't have to worry about this situation. And you know, I spoke to one young guy. His name is Makai, and I asked him. I said, "How was you like? You know, how did that make you feel being stopped by a police officer?" He said, "You know, it didn't make me feel anyway. I just looked at it as that they're just doing their job, and I'm just, you know, as long as I cooperate, I can walk out with my life." And he he walked out with his life, and you know, he cooperated. But it's rare that you see young black boys have that type of mentality.
Right.
um, you know, we just have to teach our boys better,
Right.
on how to react in with authority, because they have a problem with dealing with authority in school.
Right.
So
Right.
you know, it's like they treat police officers the same way, have a hard time, you know, dealing with authority. Period.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
I know it was rough during, when I first started working with young men. And had you told me I was going to be working with young men 10 years ago, I would have told you that you were absolutely out of your mind.
Me too.
I didn't even. However, I noticed that there was an attitude of, and it's a freedom piece. Why can't I wear my hoodie? Why can't I walk like this? Why can't I just, be me? I'm not doing anything.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you kind of intertwine yourself through your dress or sometimes your behavior with what's referred to as the stereotype.
Yeah.
I know that and I don't even wear hoodies. And this is really serious. I don't wear hoodies in the winter.
Yeah.
I might wear a sweatshirt, but more times than not, I might have I'll just have on a long john shirt with a collared shirt. My shirt is tucked in my pants simply because my height, my size, I fit the profile. And I know I make them nervous. I know, just being who I am and walking how I walk. I make them nervous, so I can really understand the perception of a lot of young men. But then, in my mind, I'm saying it shouldn't be to that extreme.
Yeah.
However, in drastic times, you have to, they call for
do.
drastic measures.
Yeah.
So if that means, putting your hands up and allowing individuals, to, pat you down, for whatever suspicion or whatever, what have you, then, and you get to walk away with your life,
Exactly.
then,
And then we have to look at it like this too. All police officers are not bad.
right, absolutely.
They get such a bad rap and things, and like, okay, because one police officer did this, that they're all the same. But that's not really the case, because I've personally met some really nice ones who were just very helpful. You walk down the street, they'll speak, and just say hi. I remember even in the summertime, they were standing outside. It was like 100 degrees outside, and, they're patrolling the neighborhood. And my son was like, let's go get him some water,
Right.
And I was like, if that's what you want to do, let's do it. So he went to the store, bought the water. He walked up on them. He's like, here's some water, and they were just like, wow, thank you.
Right.
But by him doing that changed the perception that
Absolutely.
all young black men aren't the same.
Right.
By looking at him, he may fit the profile,
Right.
but he came and he brought you water, and they was just like, thank you. They shook his hand and stuff like that. So hopefully they'll take that experience of my son coming up to them, bringing them water, looking at more young black men and saying, some may be just like him.
Right.
So
Okay.
we just have to sometimes do different.
Absolutely. So we definitely want to bring you back
Yes.
and have another conversation for part 2. But we want to thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
out and sharing your
Thank you
expertise.
for having me.
And absolutely, absolutely. And we also want to again thank our sponsors, Roger and Shavonna Johnson of the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation. So, Tiffany, thank you so much. And, you know, I guess we'll see you soon.
See, I can leave my website information by any chance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You can find me at imreallydope.org. That's it.
All right. Thank you again for viewing. And we're looking forward to you joining us again for another AAU Building Brick segment. Thank you. Absolutely. We are back. Again, my name is Herman Dunham Jr. I am the host of the AAU Building Bricks Youth Leadership Show. And before we even get started, I'd like to thank our super dynamic sponsors, executive producer Roger and Shavonna Johnson from the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation, Inc., who makes this all possible. So we're back with part two with our very wonderful guest, Miss Tiffany Robinson,
Yes.
who's been like really
Hi.
enlightening us, kind of like offset, onset with what's going on. So Tiffany, you want to reintroduce yourself to the audience?
Okay. My name is Tiffany Robertson, founder and CEO of I'm Really Dope, and DOPE is an acronym for Determined, Outstanding, Powerfully Empowered.
Wow. Say that again.
Determined, Outstanding, Powerfully Empowered.
Wow. Determined, outstanding, powerfully empowered.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's nice. That's neat. That's so. And what else do you do with the I'm Really Dope organization?
Well, I just had a conference over the weekend.
Right.
Yes, I had the I'm Really Dope conference. I'm Really Dope presents business leaders making dope moves. So it was an amazing experience. I had adults, youth, and I actually had a lot of men that showed up. It was rare because, men don't usually show up to conferences, but I had a lot of men, and it was definitely life-changing. I wanted to incorporate the youth into the conference only because I wanted to be able to show them positive leaders, but I wanted to be able to show them realistic leaders. A lot of times they're so used to seeing people on TV and status, but I want them to be able to see there are dope people in this world who are seen, who are unseen.
Okay.
But needs to be seen.
Right.
And they may be the people who are behind the scene, but they're making amazing moves. Like I had Nija, she's a marketing branding director, and she's actually the one who's responsible for, them share Coke cans, where everybody's going crazy, like looking for their names. She's the one responsible for that. Like when you go to the movie theaters and they have the Coca-Cola machines that you press the button, little digital ones that they have now.
Right.
She's the one responsible for that, but you wouldn't necessarily know that. So I wanted to be able to show them the people behind the brand or the people behind the person,
Okay.
So, yeah, so it was absolutely
Who else did you have there?
I had Tamika D. Mallory, who's there, but she's our new modern day Sojourner Truth. She is a civil rights activist, very in the community. She puts on a lot of our marches, and, she did the March on Washington, and, she's heavy with the Black Lives Matter, and she's part of the Justice League. Which is founded by Harry Belafonte.
Okay.
So she came out and she spoke, and she gave her live testimony of who she is, where she come from, how she actually got started, and me and her actually went to high school together. So everybody that I had on the panel were people that I had relationships with. They weren't like strangers. These are people in my circle who are just doing dope things. You gotta keep your circle dope.
Right. Who else you had?
I had.
I'm waiting for a name here.
I'm waiting for Lucinda Cross.
Activate!
Yeah, Activate. That's my sister. Yes, I had her there as well too, and she has been on everything from Dr. Oz to NBC to Today Show, Essence Magazine.
I was trying to get it here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
was trying to get her here. We did a little bit of communication.
uh-huh.
I've never met her in person,
Yes.
but we had some dialogue via
Mhm.
social media.
Yes.
And she was like, okay, when, whatever, whatever. And then she
Uh-huh.
was like, okay, hit my rep.
Yeah.
And I was like, number.
Yeah.
and it fell off. But it was like kind
Well,
of
I can
before
make
her
that happen.
conference.
You still
It was
want,
before her conference. Now, I'm not messing with Lucinda because she didn't holler back.
No,
When I,
don't blame her. I gotta defend
no,
my
no,
sister.
no,
Don't
no,
blame
no.
her.
I know she's very, very busy. She
She's a
works
very,
extremely
yeah,
hard.
she does.
I
She's a
get
very
it.
busy
I get
woman,
it. I
and
really, really do.
sometimes I have to, get a hold of her. Sometimes people
Right,
like,
right.
I'm trying to get in contact, and I'll call up like somebody trying to,
Okay.
So
All
if you want to make that happen, she'll be
All right.
more than happy to come
I'll
out.
bring you both back. Yeah, I know she
Yes.
would. I know she would. I know she would. And as long as it's before she gets ready for Activate 2017, because I know it's already spinning in her mind.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
it's gonna be in Europe this year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Get your passports ready.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. I feel it. I feel it. So who else was there?
I had Jacqueline Rose. She's actually the sister of Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Yeah, so she came out, she spoke. I had Blondie Billions. She runs a magazine called Billionaire Magazine.
Okay.
I had Lily Ennis. Lily Ennis, she's a cancer survivor, but she's just so
Beautiful.
amazing. I also, the thing about this conference, which was amazing, was that I was raising money for a 13-year-old young lady named Kayla Stooks.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Kayla Stooks was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's disease earlier this year, and her mom is a single mother of 4, so that means she had to stop working, but she has other kids she has to provide for, take care of, but she had to go back and forth to provide medical treatment.
Okay.
And unfortunately, insurance companies seem to only want to cover half of the expenses. So we had to be raising money and, to help her. So I didn't want to sit back and say, okay, I'm sorry for her problem, but what am I doing to be able to help her?
Right.
So even before the conference, I helped, raise money. People were donating. But during the conference, all the raffles proceeds went to her mom to be able to provide her medical treatments. And fortunately, we was able to raise hundreds and hundreds of dollars to be able to provide medical treatment for her daughter, at least a stress off of her for at least a week,
Right.
Especially when the medication is costing $400 a week.
Absolutely.
So, and the conference was also to be able to help put programs back into school. So it was nothing that was a self-gain conference. This was all giving back to people and helping and making a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really dope.
Yeah, I'm really dope.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I heard that it was a success. You had Rain.
Yeah, Rain, the hostess
hosting.
with the mostest. I had DJ Ty Michelle.
Yeah.
I had Mervyn Bone. I had Carl Michelle. I had, and the thing about it is that I may be throwing these names out. A lot of people may not even know these names, but they're just so dope. I'm telling you, they go on my website and they just pull up their information and just see who they are. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to provide a platform for those who may not necessarily be seen, but they're dope in their own right. It's hard when you don't have a name. Boy.
Right. And I don't have a name, and I wasn't on the panel, but I do.
Let's not go there.
I do appreciate November 5th next year.
Yeah, November 5th,
2016.
2016.
I'm on the panel.
Yes, you're on the panel.
I'm in there.
Yes.
So, I don't know what we're going to talk about.
No,
but
that
we're
panel is
going
to be dope because it's an all-men panel, and
Okay.
even the moderator is a man, and that one is going to be called Taking Our Sons Back.
Ooh.
So that's the panel. I'm putting it out there. I haven't even told anyone, so you're the first to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's out there now, right? Whether you want it or not.
It's called Taking Our Sons Back.
Taking Our Sons Back.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you had some other people there, and I like that, Taking Our Sons Back. It was so funny. I was talking with a bishop once, Bernard Jordan, and we came up with just a small little concept for single mothers, because I was telling them about the BRICS conference and what it was about and so forth. And he was like, yeah, you have to tell single mothers to give me your son.
Yeah.
Give me your son. And which is a difficult piece, but it's always been said that women are loving their sons and raising their daughters. So they teach the daughters how to cook and fend for themselves and so on and so forth, but they love the sons, and the sons are pretty much what we even termed on the show once as a deadbeat son. who kind of mirrors, a deadbeat dad. So, um, what was the theme again? Taking
taking
our
taking our sons
taking
back.
our sons back. So, what is that? Give me a little bit on
Okay,
that.
so I wanted an all men panel, and I wanted the men to step up saying that they're taking our sons back, whether it's their biological or they're reaching out to other people's sons. I feel it's important for young men to have father figures in their lives, even if it's not their fathers. We as women, we can, provide that nurturing part, but to raise a young man, and I'm talking about even from my personal experience of being a single mom, and I was a teenage mom,
Okay.
to be able to raise my son, it was very important that I provide my son with the essentials that he needs in order to be a man. Because I wanted him to be able to break the cycle of coming from a father who wasn't there for him and then my father who wasn't there for me. So it's like, okay, the cycle stops with you. So what
Absolutely.
do I have to do to be able to raise you into something and somebody great? So that's how my whole program started, because I did this for my son, but in the process I said I just can't do this for my son. I have to reach back for other children and to be able to help them, because I was putting him in the program, keeping him involved, showing him what he can and cannot be, and I that was important for me. But for those moms who may not have those resources and don't know,
Right.
those things to help their sons, I
Right.
wanted to be able to provide that. But it's important for women to know, like, we can do all that we can all we can for our sons, but they need a man in
Absolutely.
their lives to be
Absolutely.
able to teach
Say
them.
that again.
They
Say
need a
that again.
man. I'ma say it. I'll be the one to tell you. Because young boys, they go through so much that they don't feel comfortable talking to their mothers
Right.
about, but feel more comfortable with talking to a man about.
Right.
So even if it's their uncle, they make sure they're responsible, please.
Right.
Don't just
Right.
having any man. No, I'm
Right. Not
serious.
any
Like, don't
man.
be
Right.
having Pookie,
Absolutely.
up the
Right.
block.
Right.
No.
Right.
It involves a man who's doing something because you want that child to mirror success.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying they have to have the monetary aspect of it, but being somebody that's doing something, who's on the right path,
Right.
who's not getting into trouble. We want our sons to mirror what success is.
Right.
So it's important that they are around a man
Right.
who's successful, even if it's somebody, a principal in the school, a guidance counselor, a coach, or
Right.
But it has to be somebody who's doing something, because we got to take our sons back.
Right.
They lack father, and they go through a lot of issues, and then they say, well, my father wasn't there for me, and then they continue the cycle of them becoming a father to a child,
Right.
and not being there.
Right. Absolutely. And I saw Denise, and I love the name of her organization.
Yes.
Moms on a Mission
Moms on a Mission
to Save Our Sons.
Mhm.
And it's really, really funny, right? Because we met this year.
Yes.
This year.
Mhm.
And you're doing that, and then I met Denise, who you guys know each other.
Yes.
And I don't even remember how that happened,
Mhm.
but it happened. Okay, so we're really like all over the place,
Mhm.
but we're kind of doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Well, at least we have the same philosophy.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna put a challenge out to you
Mhm.
with because you're serious about the son thing.
Yes.
All right, okay. So we're in the process, excuse me, with the Building Bricks to do some information sessions before we actually, excuse me, before we actually get into the conference next year.
Mhm.
Because we do a young men's conference, and the conference is designed for young men between the ages of 16 and 26, single mothers raising sons between the ages of 8 and 26, because we have some very, very good information for them.
Yes.
And then what we call, what you just described, is responsible role models,
Yes.
whether they have direct or indirect access. So it could be the uncle, it could be the cousin, it could be the guy down the block. I remember I used to fix bicycles for the young kids on my block. The bike breakdown or whatever, they bring it down to me, I hook it up or whatever, and send them on home. So we don't have a spot in the Bronx. We want to go to the Bronx. We want in the Bronx. Yep, we want in the Bronx. We want in the Bronx. So I'm gonna just let that marinate on national TV. So I don't want to start no trouble, but we definitely want to come to the Bronx. And not only do we just want to be the Bronx, but our intention and the way it looks like we're setting up. We're going to hit Far Rockaway. We're going to hit Queens. We're going to hit Brooklyn. We did Manhattan last year, but we're going to kind of skirt through it.
Yeah.
But we really want the Bronx.
Well, you know what I would do? I'm going to connect you with another man who has an organization in the Bronx. The reason why, I mean, there's a lot of women out here who are having for organizations for young men and young boys.
Right.
And I feel like it takes away from the role of the man. Like, you know, we want to reach back, and don't get me wrong, I don't knock. I love women who are doing things for our young boys, but absolutely. I feel as if we're not, we're still in that role, trying to bring men together. And I feel like we can't, us as women, we have to step back and step out of the equation and let the men take control, full control of these men, of these men organizations and with these boys. So instead of me doing it, I'm going to connect you with another man who I know who's doing it with young boys. And, you know, I mean, I'll be the one I could send my boys. Right. You know, I can tell other mothers who have boys and send them. But as far as me, I don't want to be, I'm going to step out because they need to see men.
They really, really do.
Not the men with the mother there, you know, because it's still that woman. They need the men just to step up. Yeah.
And the great thing about the BRICS conference is we did a lot of speaking with the women present, breaking down some things so they could get a man's perspective. But then we sent them off to their own breakout session where they really had the opportunity to understand the emotional process of a young man. And it was given to them by a man. Then, you know, with some other stuff going on in the breakout session. But there are things that a woman just can't
teach.
Can't do it.
No matter how much.
No matter how much.
Yeah, you
can't
just
do
can't
it.
Teach it.
Can't, especially the emotional piece.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really.
And it's just like men, it's difficult for men to raise daughters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would never want to do that.
Yeah, you know, and I've had a lot of men who are raising daughters, the way they go about
They're
it.
doing hair.
It's interesting.
They're too strong. They soft.
Yeah, no, these dads, they be like overbearing and controlling. Then the girls are losing their minds, and then it causes more problems. So I will pull the dad to the side. I remember one student, she was like, I hate my dad. He's driving me nuts. He would sit there, he would pop up, and I'm like, listen, let me tell you how to handle your daughter. And I gave him, you know, bits of tips on how to handle raising a daughter. I said, you can't do that. You're going to drive her away. You gotta. This is how you got to handle her. You can't have that grip on too tight. Because when she turns 18, she's going to be gone. Because the grip too tight. You got to let it up a little. Just let it up. You know,
that's
so I was able to speak to both of them and counsel both of them. And happy to say, she was like, you know, me and my dad has had a great relationship since. So just like it's difficult for a man to raise daughters, but see, like with women, we have that nurturing part, and it's like because we are put in a situation where we have no choice, it's just like it becomes a natural instinct for us to just raise children, period. But then it's like when dads are put in a situation to raise a daughter, it's like they start thinking back like, Dad, look at all the stuff I used to do to these women. I don't want my daughter to be doing that. So it's like they get that grip on their daughter for all the stuff they used to do, you know, so it's difficult.
Okay, all right. So, but you going with us in December?
To your conference.
Conference?
You said December.
Yeah, December.
Oh, to Rikers. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. We're looking forward to that.
Yes.
What are you going to talk to the young men about?
I'm gonna see. I have to fill people out. I can't even just tell you. I always, whenever I have to walk in a room and I have to fill people out because sometimes their energy could shift, and I have to fill the energy first.
Have you ever spoke to men that are, or even young men that are incarcerated?
No, but I spoke to a lot of them who was about to get incarcerated. Or some of them who was like the first day I had them, they were in handcuffs. So I guess that may count for it.
All right.
Yes.
So what do you tell them?
it's just really trying to figure out what's going on with them, and more like a psychologist, because
Okay.
they have a lot of deep rooted issues that causes them to get to that point.
Hmm.
And they, what I find with a lot of young men is that they try to step up to the plate and not be the son, but be the husband to their mothers, and are
Mm.
taking on the roles of I have to help my mom, I have to help provide for my family, I have to go get mine.
Right.
And and they want more out for themselves, but they're just not going about it the right way because of the lack of father figure. They don't have a dad who's sitting there pulling them back and say, grabbing them and say, no, like, look,
Right.
you can't do this, I'm not going
Right.
to have you in the street.
Right.
But they have the big homie raising them and saying, I'm going to look out for you, you go ahead and you do this, I give you some cash. So they equate that to love and say, okay, he really loved me because he look out for me, he's keeping me safe, he give me money, he feeding me, so
Right.
that's love, but don't realize that all of that comes with a price.
Right.
The big homie is raising you, but at the same time, you're sacrificing your time, your
Right.
life,
Right.
it's a lot that you're
Right.
sacrificing. And then it doesn't, it gets to a point to when they're incarcerated, now reality sets in, like, okay, what I'm about to do.
Right.
And then big homie is not coming to check up
Right.
on them, and then who's there? Mommy. Mommy is back there, sitting there in the court. Mommy is there coming, putting money in your commissary.
Right.
Mommy is the one making sure that you have food. Mommy is the one you're
Right.
on the phone crying to.
Right.
It's back to mommy. So, it's just basically being able to show them better so that when they come out, they have a better start than what they did. And that
Okay.
starts with providing them with resources on
Okay.
coming up with a plan. They need a plan.
Do you have an example
Hmm.
of a young person that you worked with that you just couldn't get through to? That you eventually had to let them
Oh,
go?
I have a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like what I tell people all the time, my program is successful to as long as the student wants to do it. Because I don't make them do the work. I lead them to wanting to do the work.
Right.
And I show them what can happen by them doing the work. But I have had some students that I just could not reach. And it wasn't necessarily not reaching. Sometimes it was their parents that just didn't
I
want
was
me
going to
working.
ask you that.
Yeah, sometimes
gonna
the
ask you that.
parents didn't want me working with them because they was just like, no, I don't want you working with my child. My child, they have to pick up their brother, their sister. They ain't got time for this. Or when I sit there, and I remember one parent, I had to tell her, I pulled her to the side, and I was real with her because I don't try to be around the bush with things. I'm going to tell you straightforward. And I told her, I said, if you don't get a grip on your daughter, because she is a troublemaker, I can promise you, you're going to be picking up your daughter from a hospital. Because when she entered into high school, those girls are going to rip her apart because she talks too much and she runs her mouth too much. And she's a problem. She's causing a lot of problems with these girls in the school, going all this three-way calling, telling this one, that one. She's always the center of these girls' problems.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets to high school, it's going to be a different ballgame. These girls are not going to take that.
Right. Right.
And they're
Right.
going to jump her. They're going to beat her. And I said, I'm telling you this now because you got to get a grip on her. And instead of her wanting to work with me to help transform her daughter, she took her out the program. So I ended, and she, not long after I said that, I told her
Wow.
this on a Monday. Her daughter was jumped on a Friday. Literally.
Wow.
Literally. But, you can't save everyone
Right.
who don't want to do the work.
Right.
But for those students who want to do the work, I have the resources to help them to be able to do the work. So, I tell them all the time, like, it's as effective as the child is going to be
Right.
effective.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. So what's next? What's in the future for?
Vacation. I need a vacation. That's next in my future.
That's
Yes.
immediate next.
That's next.
So, but are you looking for, building, real estate, program space?
Yeah,
You're looking to grow it. You're looking to bring
definitely.
in more people, like, create some more leaders like yourself to make it spread.
Well, my book is supposed to be.
Book?
Yeah, my book. Yeah, so it's called
Wow.
Success is Me. Um, Success is me. Positive thoughts bring positive results. Tomorrow Generation Guide to put in the plan into action. And that is a book and a workbook all in one. So it's a very interactive book that talks about a lot of their issues, especially children in urban communities,
Mm-hmm.
their issues, focusing on everything from sex to STDs to finances to college
Right.
preparation to relationships with
Right.
family, friends, and to like what is success and being able to show them what success is, and then having little activities and from each chapter for them to
Right.
be able to write and interactive and planning goals and holding themselves accountable for their goals. And, so it's a very interactive book. I wanted to be able to provide um, a book based off of the knowledge that I have taken away in the past 5 years from working with the students.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of books that are being put out here are geared for our children, but are not from people who walked in our community.
Mm.
So I wanted to provide something where
Right.
I've walked in these kids' shoes and been in their community, so I can relate to a lot of it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So that should be it. We're actually getting the book together right now, so that's it.
All right.
It's
So when is it due out? Like,
well, it was supposed to actually been there for my conference, but the
so
formatting
was
and
mine. So
yeah,
don't worry. Right.
yeah, the formatting was we had to finish that, but I would say before this year is over, it will be out.
This year, 2015.
2015.
All right.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that we're going to bring you back um, sometime next year
Okay.
and see how things are progressing.
Yes.
Again, I just appreciate the opportunity to work with you, to be
Aw,
referred.
thank
I mean,
you.
you have people hitting me, and actually, that's how that happened. That's how I got with Denise.
Yes, I
yeah, it was
introduced
you
to
that
Denise.
referred. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So, and I really appreciated that. That was a wonderful opportunity, and of course, we have so much going on, with our youth. And I love what you said. They're not broken. I mean, well, in some ways they are emotionally, but the main piece is that they just need some love and to build some trust.
They
and,
need some
and,
TLC.
some
That's
right, and
it.
some opportunity.
Yeah, just
and,
opportunities.
right,
That's
and we let
it.
them go.
Like there's no bad children. They're just misguided.
Right.
That's how I look
Right.
at them. So
Right.
it's just a little TLC. Like every person can provide a little TLC.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
make a difference.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So again, we thank you so much for coming
Thank you so
out
much
so
for
far.
having me.
Yeah, you've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it. You want to give our viewers a little hit on how they can get in touch with you again? Website.
Well, they can go to my website, imreallydope.org.
And
Yeah.
no dots in between. Just
Nope, imreallydope.org. Yes,
Right,
that's
beautiful.
it.
So again, we want to thank you, Tiffany. We want to definitely thank our sponsors, executive producer Roger and Shavana Johnson, and AAU Youth Magazine,
Yes.
as well as the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation, Inc. So there's a lot to remember.
Yes.
But thank you for coming again. I'm your host, Herman Dunham Jr., and we thank you, the viewers, for spending this time with us, and we hope to see you again soon. Bring your kids, spread the word. We're here. We're giving out valuable information, insight, and we can only get better. Thank you so much.